On this episode of the Ask an Artist podcast, I'm joined by my good friend Josh Davies of FX Home. For those that don't know, FX Home is a group of creatives and developers that are making some really awesome products for the visual effects industry. Things like Camtrack AR and HitFilm. Josh is the founder and CEO of FX Home, and he's been a great friend and partner to us at Action VFX over the years. You can find links to everything discussed in this episode in the show notes below or at actionvfx.com/podcast. So let's just hop right into the episode. Hey everybody, Luke Thompson from Action VFX with another episode of Ask an Artist here. This is a very special episode. I am joined today by our founder and CEO, Rodolphe Pierre-Louis, and our good friend, Josh Davies from FX Home. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you. Welcome, Josh.
It's always a pleasure to see you guys. It hasn't been in the flesh enough this year, which I hate, but, maybe later this year.
Yeah. Because we've missed our usual NAB meetup, but it'll happen.
Yes.
Things are opening back up. Things are looking a little brighter, and so I'm hoping we'll be able to see you face to face before very long.
Absolutely, and with all the people over there that I won't recognize because you guys are growing so fast and doing all the cool stuff. I have so many new people to meet.
Yeah, seriously. So,
No, definitely looking forward to it. It's we've definitely missed you for sure.
Very much likewise.
So let's go ahead and kind of jump in here. Josh, each episode of Ask an Artist is really question-centric. And so we're going to ask one main question up front, and then we'll kind of unpack some different things and just kind of feel free to take it wherever you want. They're kind of meant to where they can go anywhere. So we can just kind of unpack some things out of that one question. So your question, Mr. Josh, is how do you build a 20-year business in VFX? I would imagine things have changed over time, multiple times, maybe multiple times in a year or a month. How do you guys do that? I mean, obviously adapting to different things, but feel free to just pick that up wherever.
Well, I wish I had a good answer for that. I think if we had been right back at the start and said, you're going to be doing this in 20 years' time, I think I would have been thoroughly confused and not understood that at all. And to be honest, the time has just flown by.
Yeah.
I think the only reason that we've always done this is because we've got to meet people. It's all about communication. It's all about connecting with people. And the fact that, we've been able to make something that allowed us to meet like-minded people around the world. And I think, film making, particularly when you're at the sort of genesis of it, that beginning point, is about making friends. It's about shared interests and making friends and having people support you through your creative endeavors, which inevitably all go wrong. And we were just kind of the other side of that. We made the software part because we're also geeks and we liked making stuff. So yeah, it's weird to think it's been that long, but I think it's made through friendships. That's why we're, remained a pretty small business over all this time, but it's sort of in being inspired by the people in front of you. And I know you've had some of those people on here. Some of those people are on here. You guys have inspired us with your great journey so far. But then you've had Nico on, or is being on, depending when this is, who is a total inspiration. Creativity abounds, but then at the same time, just a really nice person.
Yeah.
You've had Ryan Connolly on, also just the nicest person, incredibly humble, but really, really talented. And it's all those kind of people that make us want to carry on, because we know the next generation is going to be even more like that, more caring, but also more trying to be more creative, trying to learn from these people. So it's been a journey, but I've loved every minute of it. And I think that's because all around this kind of filmmaking group is just lovely, wonderful people.
Yeah, that's so cool. And man, I was so stoked for you guys when you popped up in that Apple keynote. Because obviously, your reaction video that you guys posted, that was honestly the most wholesome thing. I was just so happy watching that, and it really
it was it's really hard to talk about it actually, because when I was a kid, Apple were the dream, anything connected to Apple was the dream. And then to get that opportunity and for the team here to do such an amazing job, because, Apple Apple were really, really good, but we came into it quite late, and they're really, really supportive and really, really kind to us. But they had to get stuff done. So we're not normally a company that has clients, as it were. So, you know, we make stuff for ourselves. So making stuff for someone, and your first client is Apple, basically, was just the most terrifying thing possible. So the team here just did an amazing job, and it's one of those. Relatively speaking, it's a small sad point given what people have been through over the last year and a bit. But we just wish we could have all been in a room together while we were watching it. It's one of those moments where you do want to be able to look at the faces of the people around you and tell them face to face what a great job that they've done. But it was very nice to do it remotely all the same. But, you know, we'd rather be having this conversation all in the same room, wouldn't we? Right. So an amazing experience. And like my sort of 18-year-old self would not have, you know, even possibly believed that would happen. It was a bit of a dream come true I know we're all in companies where it's a family as much as it's a company, and everyone there really cares about the success and cares about making a good product and being good to your customers or your users. And you always assume, you know, as the companies get bigger, and so I think we've both certainly experienced this, as the companies get bigger, as some of that gets lost, and you're like, I don't want that to happen to us. But then we were talking to the people at Apple, and these are like people that have maybe new or maybe been there 15 years, and they love the brand. They are still like we are about our brand. It's like, you know, this is the best. Apple is the awesome, and we're going to be great with you as developers. And that was kind of pretty amazing to see that actually you can be the biggest company in the world, and you're not just there, you know, trying to get your 9 to 5 and get out the door, but actually you live and breathe that company in the same way that we do as little companies. So yeah, that was pretty amazing as well. The whole experience was crazy.
That's really cool. And I mean, it's always been so evident the amount of care you guys have for your community. We talk about it a lot, but Ro, where did you get your start?
Funny you should ask. I do remember it was around 2006, and I was a freshman in high school, and I had just made the biggest discovery ever. Ready for this? The discovery is I could do visual effects on my home computer. If I only had software from this company called FX Home. Yeah, so that was really, I remember being so excited, and I still remember the first time I went on fxhome.com and I saw the visual effects shots, all the breakdowns and stuff, and just, it's like the response that just got in me was out of this world, just feeling like, man, I can use a green screen. I've been seeing green screens in, you know, movie behind the scenes forever, and you mean to tell me I can just get green cloth and I can use this thing? So yeah, and so I got my start using FX Home software, Composite Lab, which is long gone, but that was the first one that I was able to buy. Composite Lab.
Oh, sorry
Lite.
about the light.
I couldn't even afford the Pro version.
Yeah, that we had too many products back then. Yeah, for sure. The Lite, the Pro, the different.
Yeah, and it's been great. And you know, like your forum, the community, and that's one thing. You know, now we've just launched the Action VFX forum, and a lot of that and a lot of what we want to do with that forum, honestly, is inspired heavily by what you guys were able to do with the old FX Home forums, because I truly learned so much from visual effects in that forum, just having different users to talk about ideas with, and, you know, they critique your work, give feedback and everything. And so, yeah, to me, FX Home has always been more than just a software. It's all the people behind it and the people using it.
I think that's, you know, that's incredibly kind for you to say it. You know, I think you guys would have been successful regardless of what website you landed on. It's like, it's something that's in you guys, but we love being part of people's stories. We love that. So when you talk to Nico, he will say, you know, back then he was spending too much time on our website and he was learning everything that he could, not only from us, but other websites too. But he will he'll point out a guy called Marco, who was known on the forums as Solfar, and he'll say, you know what, that guy over there in Switzerland, the other side of the world, was doing stuff that blew my mind. And Sam and Nico will both say that, and I still meet up with Marco whenever I can, and he teaches kids. He's a teacher now, but the way he teaches them half the time seems to be by getting them to make movies with robots that are blowing up the world, and they're all in the movies, and then the parents all come in and watch them, and he's still that same teacher that he was on our forums all the way through. And I think, cool. That's the same thing that you see with all the personalities, you guys, with Sam and Nico, is this willingness to share, this willingness that creativity is a shared endeavor, that no one, that you want people to get over that initial hump of, oh God, this isn't how I wanted it to be. This shot I did was not that good. Through support and through like teaching and everything, the forums have always been about that. And I know on your forums, you're going to have a lot of real high-end people that will be sharing those skills as well. So yeah, I think FX Home has always been about that. We hope in the future it's actually going to become even more about that. The software is half of the thing. We have to make a living. We have to be able to, pay for the forum software, which is actually surprisingly expensive. But there's also just, a team making the tools and trying to push the boundaries. But at the same time, we always want to be making a product that people can afford, is attainable, and that they can try casually, because when you're in your late teens or mid-teens and you're trying out creative endeavors, you don't know whether you're going to end up wanting to be a musician, if you're going to be a director, you want to be an editor, VFX person. There's so many different things, and you saw that through the community as well. People wanted to be creative, but they hadn't necessarily worked out what direction to point that creativity in yet. And we didn't want to, do anything other than be part of that journey as well. So we absolutely love that we've been there and been part of that for so many people. But the amazing skills of the people around just sort of going through that community, like what you guys did was, truly inspiring to so many people, in that you did that whole journey of, here's this guy, Ro is in there, he's the beginner, and before you've even blinked, he's not the beginner anymore, and then before you've even worked that out, he's then going to launch a Kickstarter where he's going to raise phenomenal amounts of money to go and kickstart a business that then is really, really successful. And I think, that's the kind of inspiration that people need these days. It's all about being a creative on your own terms. It's not the whole old school thing of like, oh, I have to try and get into Hollywood. I have to be a runner. I have to be treated in a less than favorable way to get into this career. No, you don't. There's so many ways that you can be creative and actually enjoy it, And again, Ryan Connolly, Sam and Nico, Sam and Nico were on that road, and they if anyone could have taken that road, they surely could have, and they pivoted. They said, no, we're going to be the best at this thing over here. We're not going to wait for the industry to take us that direction. We'll be the best at this thing over here. And then they pivoted that again. They said, right, let's make it about the crew. Let's make it about the dream of being a creative and a filmmaker. And everything they do, they change direction and do the best at that thing. And that's amazing. And Ryan as well, with his direction that he's going, getting more and more serious into Hollywood films, but on his own terms, and while being a nice person, like a really solid, nice person. It's like
that's the caveat.
And that's the thing. I don't talk to Ryan enough. He always makes me laugh, because most of our initial communications between each other were well, one of the team here, we had a friend called Ryan, and someone tried to send a rude video, like a rude comedy video, to the friend Ryan here, and it was after we'd sent one email to Ryan Connolly when we were trying to build that network. Google filled in the wrong Ryan, and just as an email with just a video link to a slightly risky YouTube video got sent to Ryan Connolly as the second email ever sent from FX Home, to which he just replied by just absolutely cracking up, while our marketing guy was like, I'm so sorry, that was meant for a different Ryan. And then ever since then, that's all the relationship has ever been. It's just like, a lot of laughs and yeah, it's good people again. It's all about the good people.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, his episode was way fun. That was the first time him and I had actually, got to talk. I say face to face, best we can do.
He
right
is a
now
hilarious man, isn't he? Just naturally, like, put you at ease.
He's so funny and just cutting up. That was a really fun conversation.
Absolutely.
But it's been really cool to see. I mean, obviously, your company is so community oriented. Not just Rose Story or Sam and Nico from Corridor Digital. Like, there's so many people that I feel like, and it's intentional. You guys even mentioned like that targeting age range of people wanting to be creative, but not really knowing for sure, like, is that music? Is that different types of art? Like, I've always had such a respect for what you guys do, because that is such a formational thing to someone's career, as far as like pushing and giving them the tools that they need to be able to at least figure that out. Which is why, we've authored tons of articles on our blog of like, hey, first time getting started with VFX, because we get a lot of those questions, and it's like, why are you not using HitFilm? It's like, that's the So a lot of our like canned responses, if you will, are like, here's a guide that we've created already. The first link you're going to find in it is HitFilm, because that's where you have to start. And it's all those things that, like, we couldn't connect those dots for everyone. If you guys weren't doing that, if other people weren't providing different types of plates that we could kind of complement and work together, it is for sure a community effort of everyone kind of doing their best, but as you said, being willing to share knowledge and information and not get so, this is about us.
And we've been super impressed on what you guys are doing. I was saying this,
thank you.
I think the other day when I had a call with Ro, where I was like, we were watching what you guys were doing with a live stream, and I was chatting to Kirsty, and Kirsty is our dynamic, amazing marketing person. I was like, look at this thing that they're doing. We've got to be doing more like this. This is really cool. It's like, and it's got all these people in there. And I came in, and I know you were doing it with our other friends over at Boris on that one that I came in. And I'm just like, hey guys, hi. We know all of you here, but this is really cool. And the video, but the video was awesome. It was like exactly the kind of, there was questions being asked while something really cool was being made. You had the really good part of it, which you had decent authority in there with the top skilled people, so they knew that they were getting good advice. You had got the vendor involved, and you got to know, like, Boris is an older company than us in everything, and you had engaged them into doing this thing, and it's really, really positive. So that whole community aspect, you guys are sort of, taking on the torch of doing that stuff a lot with what you guys are doing, and we're just so happy that you are, because really, everyone should be doing it. It's like half of the whole process. Yeah, you make a great product, but if you don't tell people how to get the most from it, they're never going to enjoy it as much as they could. So yeah, it's the other half of having a product. It's the nicest kind of marketing, isn't it, really? Because all the other kinds of marketing are pretty rubbish, and I don't like them very much. It's much more nice when it's the side when you get to talk to people and they can have an honest conversation with what they're trying to do and trying to achieve. So I think you guys are absolutely killing it, to be honest.
Thank you very much for saying that, and it definitely means a lot coming from you. And one question I did have is, obviously, you've built HitFilm, you have Camtrack AR, and I think you guys have over 5 million users all around now, which is a huge deal. But, like, how did you become interested in, starting a visual effects software company in the first place? Like, how does that, how do you go from, hey, I'm just a software developer, if you're a software developer, and, let me just help people blow things up for movies and stuff. Like, how does that take us back to the beginning a bit?
Well, I was never as savvy as you. You had a plan, and I imagine, although I never saw it, an actual business plan. I was an idiot, basically. I had messed around with computers. I had no intention of doing anything with video or visual effects, but I did have friends that were making short films, and I hope that you will never see them, because I was sometimes in these short films. I dressed as Darth Maul in one. It was that was a lot of makeup, but
I'm gonna find that. I'll find.
No,
I'll
no,
have
no,
Chris
no, no, no.
DM that over
One of the
to
people
you.
was my stepbrother, and he really wanted to be a director. So he was doing a film studies course, which was like an English and film studies. So half of it is like theory, and then you don't really do that much. But he was really into the practical.
Yeah.
So he was trying to replicate Star Wars. Of my generation, you had Star Wars, you had Indiana Jones, and then later on you had The Matrix. They were the films that inspired people to be filmmakers. Star Wars more than
Hmm.
anything, but then The Matrix had a real strong point at one point. So he was really trying to make all the kind of bullet time type things, but they were focusing on the wrong aspect of bullet time, not the camera moving around while everything stands still. It's more that the bullet then has the weird blobbiness out the back of it as it
Yeah.
moves
Yeah.
past people,
Trail.
and everyone's leaning backwards. And then lightsabers, maybe a laser beam every now and then, but mainly hitting people with sticks. So he was trying to do all of that, and he was doing it, painting it frame by frame. And I don't think he was even using Photoshop. He was using a product that doesn't exist anymore, which I think was called Strata or something. But he was painting it frame by frame, and it was meant to be like 3 minutes long. And
Wow.
he had been taking a really long time to do this. And I think literally the story behind it all is that this meant that he wasn't playing Tekken with me. It might have been Soul Calibur. It might be Soul Calibur or Tekken. And I was so annoyed by this fact. So I said I'd make him a tool that he could just draw it on every few frames and then it fill in the rest for him. Because that didn't seem like it was too hard. And I put that together overnight. And then he used it, and he got he finished off the last half of the film in a day and a half when he had done the first half of the film in a month and a half. So
Hey.
in a kind of
Man.
naive, idiotic moment, I was like, people will pay money for this.
Yes, they will.
Someone will buy this. And I put it together so it didn't crash quite so often, because it did crash a lot. And I uploaded a demo of it, I think, to the force.net, which used to be, it might still exist, but it used to be a huge community around Star Wars and then fan films as well. And some people tried it and they're like, this is interesting. So I was like, we're going to sell 100,000 copies in a day by just putting it on the internet and telling nobody about it. We're going to,
I like it.
I'm going to retire,
I
be in
like it.
Mexico by the weekend. This is 20-year-old me. And I finished it off a bit and I put it online and I told at least 3 different forums about it, did my marketing.
Yeah.
And nobody bought it. And then I tried to re-release it with Toby, my business partner, until this day. And I think in the re-release, 6 people bought it, and then no one for the rest of the month. And then I think the next month we sold 2 copies, and it was just a resoundingly huge failure. So off the back of this failure, I took the learning that you just have to try harder. And then it's for some reason, it's still a great idea. And let's persist. So we kept on making versions of the software, living off food that you buy down the petrol station, and working through the night. And really, it was over 3 years until we had more than one sale a day. It was awful. My dad supported us both. I'd saved up some money after university for half a year, and I went and said, can I borrow some money? And then that became a routine, which he didn't enjoy. I was like, I'm living under your roof and I need to pay you rent, but can you give me the money to pay the rent? And I wouldn't mind some food as well while I'm at it. So the first 3 years was very expensive for my dad. And then all of a sudden, the product got a little bit better, a little bit more polished, and we kind of turned the corner and we started trying to learn about all these other things that we really hadn't cared about. Marketing, again, you guys far more savvy than us. But we didn't have YouTube. We used to host the movies and then host the codecs that people could download to install to play the movies. It was a different time.
That.
It made no sense what we were trying to do.
Definitely.
But the weird thing was that even when it was, 6 or 10 users, they came and talked to us. They would talk to us on our chat rooms in the middle of the night. And there's a guy called Average Joe. I'm friends with him on Facebook now. He worked in IT in a hospital at the time and made fan films outside of it. And when he was on IT support in the middle of the night, he would come on, and that'd be vaguely correlating with our daytime, and he would, chat to me. And then another guy later on, a guy called Axel, who works for us now, he would be on at a different time zone. So we would talk to him as well. So it kind of, again, was this idea of community and decent people, and that kept you going, as well as your dad funding you. I paid my dad back, by the way, in the end. Yeah.
I was going to ask, I mean, it sounds like he was really supportive, though, throughout I mean, not just financially, because I've heard you talk before about kind of like a family business.
Yeah, my dad's like, I couldn't have had a more supportive dad, to be honest. So
that's great.
From the moment I was like, 6 or 7, and I thought about what I wanted to do when I was older, it was to go into my dad's company, which is a creative company, but makes old school picture frames like you would see in a gallery around a Rembrandt or a Picasso or something. Like they're made to look old.
Yep.
You see, they make them nice and cover them in gold leaf, and then they beat them up. So they smash them to pieces and put them back together again and things like that. It's real kind of old school trades, and that's what I was going to do. And I did that through university. I did history of art and things like that. And then 6 months into working for him after university, I was like, I really want to try this thing, this endeavor of my own. And rather than be like grumpy about that or anything, he understood that he had done his own business. He had tried several things before he got to the thing that he did well at. And he said, you got to go and do it. I don't think he then expected for me for the next 3 years to be coming back to him and saying, okay, well, so Toby and I have only earned maybe $400 this month, and that isn't enough to live. So can I borrow a bit more and put it on the tab? But he was really, really supportive of all of that. And when things started to go better, he was really, really pleased for me and for Toby. And now he still won't let me buy them dinner when we go out. That's the thing. He's still like, no. And I'm like, my tab must be huge now. Honestly, it's not payable, but I need to be Bill Gates to pay it back now, I think, at this point. So
it's racking up interest.
Yeah, 20 years worth of compound interest. It's not good, is it? No. So yeah, I was lucky to have that, and I had that as the sort of. I wasn't a model student or anything, so but all I did have was the idea that if you work really hard and you care about something and you believe in something, then there's the potential that you might get there. It's definitely much better to do what you guys did. Ro, I was like, when you were planning this, you thought about it, you considered it as not only the amount that you needed to kickstart so that you could get going, but then what the plan was after that point. You would talk to people about the costs of doing the things that you needed to do. I definitely recommend having all the passion, the same passion that we share, but then doing what you did, which is also plan it and consider it and have an outcome that you're trying to get to. That's the way you should do it.
Well, it's like I will say, though, we did plan, but at the end of the day, I would definitely be lying if I said we didn't underplan, because, in retrospect, there's definitely so many things we could have done better. And there's so many dumb mistakes made at the beginning, especially. But I mean, hey, we're still making dumb mistakes every once in a while. And
absolutely.
That's the beauty of it too, though, right? Because you don't have to have it all figured out. In fact, I would go as far as saying, there's a great level of naivete that's very helpful for an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right.
And a creative person taking risks to have at the beginning, because I don't know, like if I knew half of the things I know now, maybe I wouldn't have, started this.
Yeah, it would have been too overwhelming to even get going.
Yeah, it'd just be like, oh man, I'm not ready to face this. I'm going to have to do what? I'm going to have to deal with what? And I'm sure you would feel similarly, right?
I think you're totally right. I think I was really lucky, to have that support. Not everyone does, and I was really lucky that it gave me the like a really almost infinite scope, those first few years to get it wrong. Like when you believe that working 140 hours a week every single week is a success. It's really not. If you can't have a life and you can't have friendships or relationships or whatever, and your work doesn't fulfill those parts of your life as well, that isn't good. Sure, we're going to work harder. We love our thing, and we're not ever going to be doing like 9 to 5. But you've got to have a place where you can find that balance between what is essentially a work and then the relationships and all the other important things in your life, family. So yeah, it took an awful long time to work that out, and not just think, well, if I literally do stay up another 12 hours, even though I've been up 56 hours, I'm going to make some really good decisions. Yeah. It's like, you really don't. It stops working. Yep. Worst of all, you still think you are making good decisions, and you're really not. And it does catch up with you a little bit as well. But like, it's that transition and working that out. And it's putting trust in people. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like the main thing I've only ever said when I've sort of talked about growing a business is, find people better than you, search for them, look around for them, find the people better than you, and then let them be better at you at doing those things, and try and enable it, try and support it, because that's the only way you can grow, and that's the only way you can build a team that really think that they can do amazing things too. I don't know, actually remember even what I'm good at. I completely lost track of that. But yeah, I am surrounded by like people that just blow me away with stuff, and like I kind of get this. You feel like a kid in a candy store at that point, because you're like, I can have a vague idea about something that I think would be cool, but then I can go and talk to a bunch of smart people about it, and they can make it actually something cool, or they can tell me, have you really thought about this? Is it going to work? So yeah, it's find the smart people you trust and surround yourself with them. But that's not just business, is it? That's just life.
Great advice.
We've got deep here.
For sure. Yeah, it was like,
borrow money from your
parents,
that life card,
and
then find people you can trust.
Nice. I like it. So kind of transitioning over here as well, Josh, you guys have obviously rolled out Chemtrack AR fairly recently, as all things considered. Where do you kind of see that going forward in the future? I know you have a couple other projects coming up that we can't really chat about just yet, but if it's Chemtrack AR, if you've got some other things you're working on that you can share, what's coming up for you guys at FX Home?
I mean, we're talking with the guys over at Epic, the Unreal guys, and they're another company that I absolutely love. And when you talk to the team there's a lot of people that you can just get so excited about talking to, because again, they really care, and I think they've got everyone in the world wants to talk to them at the moment, because they're just killing it. But there's a lot of really like passionate, amazing people over there. So with Chemtrack AR, we really want to do more virtual production stuff, but we want to make it simple. That's the problem with virtual production stuff at the moment, is it's not what people are used to in terms of like this solution that we're using for recording this and everything. It's like, it does everything and it's awesome, but the user doesn't need to be like a technical wizard to use it. And that's what releases creativity. So with Chemtrack AR, it's like the first steps of trying to get to the point where we can stream live stuff from a really powerful laptop to the phone or the iPad, so you can see it live. We're talking to Apple about stuff that they're doing in order to make their AR even better. So I think there's a lot in that space of the tool that you've got in your hand is always the best tool, because you got it right there. So we want to work on some of that stuff to make it more approachable. And I think every single bit that our team is putting out in terms of using that technology to replace backgrounds and do stuff is like, it's like 10 times better than the previous one. Still, we're at that kind of position where it was a bit shaky, it was a bit dodgy, but the next one's better, and then the next one's better again. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also really excited about relooking at our entire product line and saying, this is awesome. We're really happy about it. We're going to push it forward and do all these, all the new features and all of these things. But actually, how can we just make the whole thing better? Because we had a really amazing year during this really horrible year, which is sort of allowing us to stand back a little bit and sort of rethink what would be the best set of products that we could be possibly making. So we're having to think about all of that. But actually, I really love our photo product as well. We haven't done enough to market it because we're such a small team. But the photo product it's actually really, really, really good. And it's like, I love Photoshop. I'm like a Photoshop guy. But the bits I don't like about Photoshop are decisions that I have to make that I know that if I don't like them, it's going to be a pain to reverse. So I end up duplicating all the layers and leaving them there so that I can then carry on. And then I go, oh no, and then I go back. And you end up with just like billions of layers that you've just left behind just in case 4 hours down the line you realize the decision was the wrong one and you've got to change the layout. It stops all of that because it's non-destructive. And I think that's absolutely awesome. But they also just are developing that at such a furious rate. The developers on that, it's like, every time I talk to them every week, I'm like, you've added what? You've done what? What's going on? So I can't keep up with it at the moment. But yeah, I'd say in terms of FX Home, the thing that I'm most excited about of all, though, is having people back in this office. We're hopefully, fingers crossed, a month away from having more of the team coming back slowly into the office. There's a few of us here now. In the UK, there's a very particular rule that if you can work from home, then you should be working from home. And we've proven that most of us can. So most people are not in the office, but we all miss each other. Terribly. You know what it's like to have a company that's like a family, and it's been so long now that the sort of the FaceTimes or the Zooms really aren't kind of cutting it. So yeah, that's what I want. I want us all to be back together, but then I want us to be over there with you guys and celebrating the things that you've been doing. And as you know, with NAB, hopefully, is it October? It's late October, isn't it? Or early October.
Yeah.
That's what I hope for. That's the big thing at the moment, bringing us all back together again.
I couldn't agree more, I think. And as we've mentioned, stuff's starting to open up again. So I'm really, really hopeful for the future that we'll be able to start seeing each other again, start traveling a little more to see each other, because there's a different component of being able to wave at Josh through a computer and then actually hug Josh and the rest of the team in person. So we are for sure looking forward to doing that again. Josh, we're
and I'm getting married next year, and I'm hoping that you guys might come over here for that as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll just put the pressure on there.
Yeah,
so.
I'm trying to make it a company expense.
There you go.
Put the pressure on Ro for international travel on.
It's like, as long as we talk business for a little bit, maybe before the wedding, we can have a quick little meeting.
If it's on the actual day, then I might not be getting married.
Yes. So we'll fly in a week before. We'll have a couple meetings that way.
Well, we could do a collaboration, in that period. Like get the creatives together and make something.
Hey.
That sounds like a party to me. Like a good time. I mean, like a work party. Oh
yeah.
Not like it.
They're
just
the best
sounded.
kind, right?
Wink.
That's awesome. Josh, we're going to include, obviously links to FX Home, the forum, Camtrack AR, all of that inside of our show notes. But outside of that, is there any specific platforms you want people to follow you at? Where can people learn more about you, your company, and the things you guys have coming up?
YouTube's always like the best place for us. So please do, subscribe on YouTube. There's always awesome content coming out there. But otherwise, come and be on the forum. We count YouTube as part of our community now. We have such a nice set of comments and regular commenters there and everything. But come and be on the community. You don't even have to get the software. Come and be part of the community, critique people's work, help people get better, learn some stuff yourself. It's like, the community is awesome. So if down the line you like the software, that's great. But if not, just be someone that's part of the community. It's a really positive place, and it's hopefully a place where everyone can feel that they're actually being lifted up and helped along their creative endeavors. So do that. Recommended.
Yep, I like it. And I've always had so much respect for you guys as a company, but also your leadership and just being able to, I mean, you mentioned you had a great year in 2020 as far as company goes, but even like the amount that you guys have been pushing towards charity and even the decisions you make as a company, it's always very apparent that not only do you put your internal community ahead, your users ahead, but even like outside of that externally, you guys are always building people up and helping lift people up to achieve different things, to push to greater bounds and new heights. So that's something I've always had a huge appreciation and respect for you guys. So
that's so kind of you to say. I think all the work that we do on the charity side reflects the team here and who we feel that our users are as well. And the fact that so much has been raised, I think it pretty much says that is who our users are. They're the generation that care.
Mhm.
And I think anyone, and I heard this all the time, that look and go, oh no, the new generation this, the new generation that. No, they care more. They're going to do more, and they're going to be better than we ever were. So I think that kind of all the stuff that we can do for good causes and charity, I hope we can just do much more in the future as well.
Awesome. Very, very inspiring stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Davies of FX Home. This
Thank
is
you.
Ask an Artist.